I'm sorry, I love it. I love it. I've never had the hooks on the beard before. Now I'm kind of partial to it. It's like my face is smiling all the time. Look. Let's go! Awesome, Tante Oso, that bear you all know. Out of hibernation to entertain Raider Nation. Sup? Sorry, I'm in a painfully good mood. Often imitated, never duplicated. That fool with no hair that shouts like Ric Flair. Woo! What? Woo! The Raider Bear! Raiders! I'm just going to periodically play with them throughout the show. No, I'm serious. Alright, sorry. Enough! What's up, fam? Welcome to the show. Appreciate you all tuning in to Raider Bear Live with your host. It's just me. Tradish! Raider Bear Live! First comment, woo! MVP tonight goes to... just clearing the throat for this. By a lot. He got like the first 10 comments. John the Leon! Always catching L's, but never taking losses. Our guy, John the Leon, tonight's gold medalist. What's up, brother? Welcome to the show. Second place, silver medal goes to that Moji making son of a gun, and he does all 5 just like I like. They're adorable. Mark, who left town before he had dinner with me. You're never living that down. Vargas! Hi, Mrs. Vargas, in case the wife or the mom is around her. Hi, little Vargases, and to the babies. Oh, look at this. Third! I love this guy's comments. Third! Carlos Magana Jr. Yeah, Carlos, I see you removed the junior. What's that about? Okay, you be proud of that, okay? Your father gave you his name. So did mine. You know I'm kidding. No, I'm not. Honorable mention to S.A. Big. No, you don't get the whole thing. You didn't win a medal, okay? It's S.A. Big Dog, okay? No. And don't start laughing about it either. It's serious business. Moving forward, Facebook. Numero uno, El Jefe. And the order at Facebook is starting to get delicious. Your gold medalist tonight, the reigning, defending champion of the world, Carlos Boykins. And in this corner, no, with the silver medal, Lucky Pace. You know, Okay, this thing, Carlos Boykins, Lucky Pace. I'm enjoying this. I really am. Listen, Carlos, watch your back though. The man, he got the marbles. Okay, he's clever. He calls me on everything. Lance, look at you, third place, bronze medal. Lance Sanfilippo, probably the politest viewer I've ever had. He asks to make comments. He always said thank you. He always says thank you, Mr. Bear. Always a gentleman. Good to see you, Lance. Welcome back to the show. Honorable mention to DPC, David Pelkliva. David, I have an assortment of weapons behind me. If you notice, I have the Wolverine claws, and I also have the black and silver machete. You can take your pick. No, you get nothing, okay, because you didn't win a medal. You get honorable mention. That's it, Mount Rushmore. Jeremy King, what's up? Welcome to the show. No, see, that was 4 minutes. It's just 4 minutes. I've got hardcore football fans. Come on, Bear. Let's go. Are we really going to do what they're saying we're going to do now at 6? I don't know, man. I don't know, man. This is one of those times when the Bears, kind of been, bamboozled. Jim Garrison, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. Bob Stannard, my good friend in the house. What's up, brother? Welcome to the show. Hi, Casey. Craig Gilmore. What's up, Craig? Welcome to the show. Joe Holman, what's up? Welcome to the show. Look, Bro Bear. Look, he and I, we're getting right here already, Troy Gill, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. And folks, remember, stars contributed to the show help greatly in us providing a better show for you year by year, at which we are in year 10 now. This is my 10th year as a podcaster, always for the Raiders. And reminding me that stars contributed to the show are greatly appreciated is Steven Shaw! Appreciate the love, brother. Always there for Raider Bear. Okay, so moving forward. Tim Newport, my little prince and princess are fed and knocked out, and I'm in the other room, so yell all you want. Raiders! You think a little kid's door can keep me out? Ridiculous. I'm far too bombastic for anything like that. Chris Vanderhoof, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. Mark Alvarez, family in the house. Hi, Jay. Hey, Bear. Whoa. Hey, Bear, who would you choose between Sanders or Ginty? I say Sanders, considering how this draft is loaded with running backs. Okay, first big football question. Carlos first. Welcome as always. And I would say this to you. I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to come off like a hypocrite. Okay, so here it goes. I think the pick is Ginty, but you're starting to hear a little bit of sabotage going on where they're saying maybe the pick is actually Will Johnson, the kid from the Michigan Wolverines. Now, as much as I'm down with that, the problem I have is that I don't know if going with a defensive back makes sense to me. Okay, so now I saw one of the mock drafts. Well, I saw like 7 because a lot of new mock drafts came out today because it's Monday and everything. But I can tell you this: the mock drafts came out. They were very different. All sorts of different outcomes. The one I like the most, I'll just give you the top 5. It has the Titans taking Cam Ward, the quarterback, at 1. It has Cleveland taking Travis Hunter at 2. Now, I just want to real quick just say I don't agree with that one at all. I think there's a higher likelihood that they take someone else. I just don't think Travis Hunter's going to go to the Browns. But then that would have Travis Hunter, who in most people's eyes could have been a first overall pick, falling to 3rd or 4th. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but I just think there's a chance that happens. I think there's a chance that there's NFL people who see the frame on this kid and say no. Guys, you have to remember, when you come on the show and you say, oh, this draft pick is this Bear, and oh, this draft pick is this Bear, we're all speculating from what we saw when they're in school to what they may do. Not will do, may do. Okay, now remember, these are college kids. They're going to come into a more intricate system. The system's going to have more coaches. There's going to be a ton more pressure. The game is much faster. You have to deal with the fact that someone is right on your butt trying to take your job every weekend, unless you're the quarterback. There are so many things that differentiate from your college experience to the pros. It's hard to quantify just how uphill a climb it is for all of these guys. Every single name I mentioned, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Ashton Jeanty, and Tyler Warren, all have a high bust potential. They do. Cam Ward is a somewhat experienced quarterback that's drifted over a bunch of different schools. Travis Hunter, too small. Abdul Carter, not big enough for the NFL at defensive end. I don't care how good he looked in college. He's not big enough. When he gets to us, if we got him, then I'd be excited, but I would be excited after he put on 25, 30 pounds, maybe more. He's slim, guys. I'm not saying he can't play. He's good. But at the NFL level, he'll get pushed around. I'm telling you, this is not Lawrence Taylor coming into the NFL. Okay, don't get it twisted. Just because we've been talking about Abdul Carter to nauseum for X amount of months now. Okay, now I didn't answer your question. I would go with Jeanty because I think quarterbacks have higher bust potential. And even though you're right that there are better running backs, if I'm going to pick that high, I don't want one of the other running backs. I realize, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I don't want to go down and try to find one of the lesser running backs when I can have the best right now. When with Shedeur Sanders, there's questions. Whereas with Ashton Jeanty, I don't think there's as many questions. I would also admit that I don't know that the questions against Sanders are fair. But they're there. I hope that sort of answered it. Ellis Irving, what's up? Welcome to the show. John Leon says, we are trading back. John, it's possible, but I'm hearing things that sound realistic to me. For example, it was always like this whisper that it might be Jeanty. I had heard word from people that were around Pete Carroll that Jeanty was the pick and that's it. And that you're going to hear a lot of nonsense, but it's Jeanty. Well, now we're hearing Will Johnson. Now, if you gave me an offensive lineman or the best defensive end or a quarterback, if you said for sure it's Sanders, the reason I would question anyone that goes with any pick other than Jeanty is the fact that if you put Will Johnson there, well, now that changes things. Because, see, he's a defensive back. He's considered the interception machine, is what they called him at his school. And more importantly, and I know you know this, I'm just putting the pieces together like a detective, Pete Carroll is a defensive back guru. Okay. All right, wait a second. Now I kind of see where we're going here. You get Pete Carroll. You go get Will Johnson, a.k.a. Richard Sherman. You go get Jeremy Chin and Alandis Roberts, two hard hitters. Okay, a safety to back him up and a linebacker right in front of him. It got interesting. I'm just saying. I mean, if you really hear what they're saying, it makes a little bit of sense. Why wouldn't Pete Carroll want his defensive back? I would, for example, real quick. Go back in history, okay? The Legion of Boom. We all liked their defense with Seattle. Pete Carroll was one of the orchestrators of it. Blah 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 blah. Okay, now what was one of the inside baseball, that's an old saying that means what was going on behind the curtains. What is one of those secrets that we know now about that Legion of Boom defense? That Richard Sherman was calling a lot of the protections with his fingers to his safety behind his back. That was why he always stood for, at least a few seconds in that handcuffed looking position. Ironic, his future would lead to. I'm not going there. It was just a joke. But he would be in this position so that the offense couldn't see which signals he was sending back to Cam Chancellor, a.k.a. the safety that he had back in that system. So now Jeremy Chin, you bring in interception machine. What was Richard Sherman? An interception machine. Because Pete Carroll can coach them into a scheme where they use hand signals and get an extra drop on the offense. It's a defense within the defense. It's brilliant. And don't get me wrong, it's not like they're the only ones doing it. It's just very few teams do it because very few teams have the personnel with the cohesion to make that work. Because it takes work. But that's where Pete Carroll comes in. He's a master of defensive back tactics. And so he will go to the defensive backs on this squad once the team is set, and he will say to them, you're going to have certain communications between you guys so that you can make one look, but then quickly show them a different defensive look, and everyone will be on the same page because even though the switches are made quickly, it'll be because of signals that can be sent quickly where you will understand exactly what's going on, and then boom, ball snaps, different defensive look. And as a rule, interceptions happen because quarterbacks are committed at that point. They've read the defense they see in front of them. They call out the protections on their offensive line. They take a look, and then they snap the ball. Once they snap the ball, they're committed to the idea of the defense they were set up on that play against. So if that defense shifts in some way or is baiting him into throwing into something, that's Pete Carroll. That's the Legion of Doom. And could it be the Raiders 2025? Oh my God! I don't know. I'm a firm no though. No. Defensive backs always bust. They bust even if they're great. Defensive backs get beat. Look, Deion Sanders. Guys like him. Asamoah. I used to like Asamoah. I thought he was a great Raider. But, guys like that cut off aisles and go for interceptions, coaches are almost trying to coach that out of defensive backs because it means they're going to be out of the play if it's a ball fake. And now you bit trying to get an interception and the wide receiver goes around you and you're 5 yards behind him on the play now. A lot of coaches they hate that. They love it if you get the interception, but if it's a bait and switch and that wide receiver comes out of the outside and you're suddenly going, whoa, trying to backpedal and catch up now. Touchdowns happen, and you get substituted for the other guy. All right, so let me just go over this one more time because I do actually see this going this way. The only problem I have is Cleveland. I think Cleveland is absolutely gonna fall back. I don't see any sense. If Cleveland picks Travis Hunter, it will be an absolute waste of a pick. They'll for example, what do we know about the Browns? They hate paying their players. They usually pay them, and then they tell them to shut up until it's time to argue about contracts, and then by the time that gets there, they trade them or just say, we're not going to negotiate you, we're going to let you go and run out or trade you, blah, 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 blah. Cleveland's notorious for that. I mean, they have the best defensive end in football, arguably the most important position in football. Now, personally, I'm a Max Crosby guy, but there are a lot of people who feel like the guy in Cleveland is the number one guy. And I'm not disputing that or agreeing with it. I'm simply saying they think it and that you got the best guy and you won't pay him. It makes no sense to me. I mean, we had the best guy in Khalil Mack. We let him go, but it was because John Gruden was coming in and needed the money to change the regime. And so I don't agree with that, but I understand why he did it. Heard the running back from Idaho is a beast. Mark Alvarez, you're hearing that from a lot of people, but more importantly, it's starting to look, excuse me, I'm like itching. Jesus, I just got out of the hot tub just before I came over here. Yeah, I know, I saw it. That was mild flexing. Mr. Bear, football question. What do you think of Russell Wilson and Winston on the same team? What do I think of it? I think that it's a way of having a solid one and an insurance number two that's pretty solid. And Mark Alvarez, going back to what you're saying about the other running back, I think that's the only reason why there's still so much speculation in this draft. There honestly is. I personally sat down on Ashton Jinty, I don't plan on coming off that. The only way I'd come off that is he's picked before that. And in this recent draft mock I just saw, at number 4, the Bears, I don't know if the Bears have that or if they move up, but the Bears would draft Ashton Jeanty at 4. So if Ashton Jeanty at 4 is off the board, Travis Hunter, Cam Warder off the board, Abdul Carter's off the board, Tyler Warren's off the board, that would leave us at 6 picking Will Johnson. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I just personally I don't love that. You can't just elevate one of the other running backs that high, because you're overpaying. So you'd have to take the best defensive end available, defensive tackle, maybe along that line. And obviously the guy from Michigan is still on the board. So me personally, I would probably take him. Okay. It's 11 here on the East Coast. I'm listening to the show with my earbuds in. Everybody else is sleeping here for work in the morning. Oh, sorry. I appreciate the earbuds, Mr. Garrison. Welcome to the show. Mr. Lyon, don't draft a quarterback in the first round unless you trade back. Geno needs weapons. Why would we trade for Geno, then extend his contract and not give him weapons? Well, John, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying Ashton Jeanty is a fantastic weapon for a quarterback. Or maybe look at the number 1 wide receiver. There's going to be some big, fast wide receivers there. Now, do you want to overpay for a wide receiver? No. But at the same time, don't we traditionally, you know what I mean? I know that doesn't make the most sense, but I mean, in the NFL, they do pay more for the Ferrari, and we consider the over-the-top bomb to a tall 6'4" blazing speed wide receiver, and I'm not sure. I do not see drafting back, though. Don't expect that. Don't expect that. John, I know you were saying that earlier. Don't expect that. Bear, would you be okay with Jeanty at 6, or are we mad at that pick? Jim, I'm not mad at that pick. I think that Jeanty is a specimen, and I think that he can come out on the field and play man football with men. I feel like Jeanty translates. That's, to me, the highest compliment I can give him to you, is that I'm not going on, I don't care how many yards he got in school. I don't care how many touchdowns he scored. What I care about is when I see those highlights or games that he played in, I see him. I don't care what the rest of the team did. Even in losses, he could have had a great game. You know what I mean? I want to see what he does. And then you look at that player's schedule, for example, Jeanty. I'll just give you my little bit of inside baseball. Here's another one. Oftentimes when we're going to draft someone, I look at the guys that in college that he played against. And then I look at those teams on defense to see if they have any stars that are going to go to the NFL. In particular, defensive linemen, linebackers, especially cornerbacks, safeties, etc. But mainly defensive backs and linebackers. I like to see that. And if I find that, I then go to that game and look at his stats. If he's up against a corner that's definitely going to go to the NFL, I go to that game, look at his stats, that kind of thing. And from my little inside football, when I did that with Jeanty, I see favorable numbers. I see Jeanty playing well against men at the next level. Denton Road, Space Force. What's up, brother? Welcome to the show. Bear, I'm routing the A's logo. That's dope, Bob. Let me see it before you send it away. You know what I think we should do? We got holes in our offense and our defense, and we can't plug them all. Gardner Minshew sucked. Quick, Gardner Minshew sucked. Just, in case anyone forgot, although no one did. But we still scored an average of 18 points a game, and we gave up 25. I say concentrate on defense because Geno is going to do better. You already know I think we should trade up and snag Carter with him on one side with Crosby. But we can do that. There's 10 different ways. We could put an animal on the other side of Max. And we need to do that. I'm saying to you, we are like-minded. Because that to me is the most important mission of this franchise. Do you ever send one bounty hunter after multiple people? No. You send a pair of bounty hunters. Okay? We've already got one of the fastest, best, now experienced, raw, hungry, only getting stronger and smarter in his prime right now. Okay, so what we're going to get from him in this prime is another 4 or 5 years of incredible football. But is it going to be for the Raiders or someone else? Because if we don't get him a sidekick fast, he's going to run out of love with this franchise not listening to him. Because there's no way in hell, and I mean H-E-double-L, that he would be okay with them overlooking that another season. No. And I mean seriously, I want at least 1 or 2 draft picks and 2 UDFAs, undrafted free agents, at defensive end that are just bar bouncers. I want guys that pick up cows and throw them in the wood chipper. I got graphic. Sorry. But he needs a guy. I say concentrate on the defense. Let's see. With him on the side and Crosby, yep. A couple more pieces. By the way, Carter is listed at 6'3". Look, Abdul Carter could be 6'6", okay? Thin. Not big enough. He's just not. He looks great in college. But, obviously, let's remember, Max Crosby was a stick when he came to the NFL. He was a stick. And just year by year by year, he's done nothing but grow and get better. That is the absolute pro, in my opinion. He does not get in trouble in any way. He, like me, brags about his wife and his children every chance he gets. I met his mom and dad. They're both amazing, funny, great people. We have one of the best opportunities ever to have one of the best representations of a great citizen and NFL player who will be in the Hall of Fame without any question. But are we going to hold him back or carry him in? Let's carry him in. You know you got goosebumps from that speech. Henny! Wait a minute. The pinky out for my boy all the way from the land of whiskey and crumpets from an ocean away. Henny Blair! That's my guy right there. Appreciate you, KB. Arnie Garza, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. Cleveland paid Watson and Garrett record money. Yeah, Tana, it's just they make dumb decisions. So I think there's a good chance they really will take Travis Hunter at 2, but it just doesn't make sense to me at all. Cleveland is so far away. You would essentially be, I mean, don't get me wrong, the majority of people out there, no offense to anyone watching, but the majority of the people out there, they don't follow these sorts of things closely. They just root, for the team, and that's it. And so there's a high likelihood that Cleveland will take him just to sell tickets, just to get butts in seats in Cleveland, because right now all is gloomy in Clevie, as usual. Question: who is your top 5 list for Raider first-round draft picks? Mine is 1, Allen, 2, Woodson, 3, Brown, 3, Brown, Mack, 4, Stabler, 5. There's no way I would have Allen at 2 because, I'm looking at your thing backwards because it says mine. Okay, so your number 1 guy is Marcus Allen. No way. I mean, Marcus Allen was amazing, and he really was, but he's not the most influential Raider. No way. Well, I shouldn't say no way, because it is close. I mean, he's amazing, and his red zone ninja moves, I don't know if anyone's ever done it since the way he did. Damian Tomlinson tried for a while. He was a disciple of Marcus Allen, and the idea that you get yourself to like a wet bar of soap. Once you get inside the 10, you got to give those guys angles and keep your feet churning and make yourself feel like a greasy pig and then score. And Marcus Allen was the best at that. So I can't give you that one. Personally, you have Stabler at 5. I would have Stabler at 1. I mean, who better epitomizes what a Raider is? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying about good things. I mean, remember the guy was a womanizer and a drunk. But I mean, that's all part of his lore, you know what I mean? Back when those things were acceptable. Nowadays we look at those sort of things and we go, oh my gosh, can't have the children knowing that Kenny the Snake Stabler was a wild child, but he was, you know what I mean? That's why I like him even more for that reason. Because then he showed up on the field and won football games. Okay, so I would say Stabler at 1. Then I would say, man, I mean, there's too many guys. Where do you put Jack Tatum? I mean, where do you put Fast Willie Brown? I don't know, man. That's a tough one. What are your positions of need in the draft? Great question, KB. And I'm going to keep it rolling, go a little bit faster so I get more of your questions in. I apologize. Okay, so first, needs in the draft. Needs in the draft to me are not quarterback. And everyone's thinking quarterback. You got to get off of that. We're not thinking quarterback now. Just like our other guest said, you got Geno, you paid Geno, which is doubling down on, hey, this is our guy. So for the next 2 years, he doesn't have a challenger, and you don't normally want to pick a quarterback in that situation because you don't want to have to force him to sit behind Geno for 2 years when, you could just pick the best guy coming out of 2027. John Leon said, I'd trade back for either 9, 10, or 13 and get extra picks and get starters. I can't argue with that, John, as a strategy. I just don't think they're going to do that. I really don't. I think they're going to take the pieces that they have and incorporate pieces at where we have weaknesses that they see as the best player available at our weakness. I mean, if you ask me, we're going to be able to tell it's in 10 days. That's right. We're 10 days away, guys, from the draft. And don't forget, I do a draft show, so I will be on, and we will be talking about pick by pick until we get to our Raiders, and then we'll sum it all up. We don't need the big names, just players at this point. I would totally agree. Armando Medrano, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. Look at you looking all suave with the cartoon painted look. I like that. Ginty took 30 carries to make 104 yards and put the ball on the ground twice against Penn State. Not such a good game. Well, Tanamoku, just as much as you don't count the bad ones, you don't count the good ones either. Remember, I said earlier in the show, I don't know if you were here, but earlier in the show I said, I don't care how many touchdowns he got in college. What he'll do in the NFL is face the best of the best at every position every single Sunday. From draft after draft, from years behind him, bringing in just killers from the NCAAs, bringing in guys that weren't drafted, bringing in guys from Canada who are scratching and crawling to keep their job. And now here comes little Ashton Ginty to drop into the shark feed. So, you're preaching to the choir. I don't know how he'll do. I'm just grading him on those things as his potential. I think he has high potential to be a good back. R8RBEAR, bro, you need a new mic. Thank you, King Juice. I appreciate that. My sound must be sucking today. It's mainly because I bounce around a little bit too much, King Juice. Maybe that'll sound better because I tend to get it away from my face and then I don't sound quite as good. But if I sit right here in front of it and I don't dance around, it sounds great. But my problem is I'm bad at sitting still and not bouncing around. Oh, King Juice is not feeling the bear. Malcolm Kuntz is 6'3", 250 pounds. Mark Vargas, he's closer to what we need, anyway, but he is still, he's light in the butt. He is. You know what I mean? I was surprised we kept Malcolm Kuntz. I'll be honest with you. I realize he's done some things. I realize he should get an opportunity, but I was not completely on board with the whole Kuntz thing. Just not, I just was not on board. Oh man. Sorry, King Juice, if I woke the fam. Not sorry. You haven't seen my show? Anyway, it's been a long minute. I'm finally back. Oh, it's good to see you, Corinne. I appreciate you, girl. Let's see. You missed the last part. Besides being 6'3", Carter is listed at 251, and that's damn near the same weight as Crosby, only he's a little shorter. All right, you got me on that one. Visually, I wouldn't have guessed he weighed that much. I wouldn't have. And then also, let's be straight with each other. We all know that they embellish the height and weight of football players. I mean, you'll concede that, right? I mean, that does happen. So all I'm saying is he could be 240, and they'll write him in as 251. Who's going to check? And they've done it for decades, to help him sell himself to the NFL. And then when they get him, he actually weighs 245. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it doesn't really matter because when they get to the NFL, the first thing they're going to do is get with their strength and conditioning coaches of that team, and they're going to put juices in them and not cheating. I mean, like, juices that they drink and so on and get their weight up. Max Crosby is an assistant manager at East Michigan. Let's hope that the inside track is there. Pete Vasquez, what's up? Welcome to the show. Steven Shaw and Mrs. Shaw. Appreciate the love, brother. Malcolm Kuntz will kill this year, and I think he'll outprice himself out of Vegas. King, by re-signing with us for what was a pretty, team discount kind of contract, if you ask me, when you consider the market was looking to pay guys 18 to 25 million at defensive end. So he would have we gave him less than the low end. So and it's for 1 year. So I feel like he's gambling on himself. And I like that. I think he'll go out there. I think he's going to get a real opportunity to be Max Crosby's guy, because God forbid he does it. If he gets 9 sacks or, 11 sacks, we'll have to pay him. I mean, and I'd want to, wouldn't you? I mean, if he looks like boom, fruition, he's got it. I mean, he's been with us for a few years now. He's right at that point that 80s players were at, when you would always give every 80s player a 4-year deal to make sure he has 4 years to really come around, and they didn't even play rookies. Playing rookies was something you never did in the 80s and 90s. Almost never. Seriously, they would just ride the bench, usually for a year or two at least. And then they might get an opportunity to play. Let's see. The Browns picked up Flacco back up, so maybe they'll do something again. Armando, I like Joe Flacco and I respect him a lot, but every year he gets a year older, I'm skeptical. You know what I mean? The guy has one of the best deep balls I've ever seen. I mean, it just falls right into your belt buckle like a pillow. He is just target on right now. He's already got a Super Bowl. He's already won enough money for his life and his kids. And so I would imagine that this is all competitive edge on Joe Flacco. He just doesn't want to stop playing. And I think that's kind of cool. Mason Graham, 6'3", 320 pounds. And that's why, Mark Vargas, that's my pick. If Mason Graham's on the board at our pick, you've got to pick him. You got to. I mean, you got to. I mean, if they pick Will Johnson, I've already made my Legion of Doom, argument for Will Johnson. So if they take Will Johnson as our first pick, I mean, I'm not going to get upset, but I mean, I'm going to be like fingers crossed, because I don't care who Pete Carroll is, and I don't care what his system is that's so brilliant. Defensive backs bust. They just do. And it worries me. It would be a big risk. What about Nick Chubb? Is he still a free agent? Maybe after the draft, get him on the cheap if he still is available. I believe he is available, and I don't believe he's fallen with the team yet. Arnie Garza said, who's your top 5 first-round Raider picks? Mine is Russell, Farrell, Leatherwood, Arnett, and Conley. Okay. I like that. I would probably rearrange the order a little bit. Who do you see the Giants picking at 3? Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, or a quarterback, or an offensive lineman? Well, I don't see offensive linemen, because offensive linemen, although they can be hard, it can be hard to get the best. You usually can get guys that can play. Most guys at offensive line can play. It's just a matter of, did you catch them at a good day? Are they at the right position? Are they at the right weight? Did their wife leave them? You know what I mean? If those things aren't in play, then you're usually going to get a pretty good offensive lineman, in my opinion. It's easier to find those than it is to find quarterbacks. So let's see. Who should they pick? Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, or a quarterback? Because there is actually a chance that Abdul Carter would be available there. That's not in the realm of that can't happen. So let's see. Because you could see a situation where you have Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, and Ashton Genty come off the board, and then Abdul Carter would fall to 4th. To me, at that point, if you're the Raiders, you got to start making phone calls. I I do like Ginty. I just thought he was kind of skinny. If he is actually 251, then I would obey that. With our running back, wide receiver, and linebacker being the worst in the NFL last year before the draft, how convenient are you? Wait a minute. How convenient are you in these position rooms? Oh, how confident am I in these position rooms? Okay, I'm not confident in running back. Obviously, we have things we need to get done there. Wide receiver, we don't have a 1, and you could argue that the 2 is good, but not great. And then linebacker, we did make a slight fill there with a Landon Roberts, but we still have another position. A Landon Roberts is going to take over for what Robert Spillane was doing for us. And in my opinion, Landon Roberts is better than Robert Spillane. I don't care what Robert Spillane did in a Raiders uniform, because if you guys remember correctly, I reported the pick when we made it. I said Robert Spillane was going to be a star, and everyone looked at me like, what? This is just a guy. He did a little bit of this and that with Pittsburgh, but he's not a stud. He's not a star. Yeah, well, led our team in tackles, became the team captain, and the green dot calling the signals. So, challenge the Bears' intellect at your own risk. So, very possible Abdul Carter could be there at 4. If he were, if I was the Raiders, I would try to make a move up. Okay, so yes, I agree. Running back, we are not confident. Wide receiver, we're not. Linebacker, we're halfway there. Probably need 2 more. And that's assuming that Tommy Eichenberg, the linebacker that we brought in a year or so back from Ohio State, doesn't pan out. I think that guy is going to be a baller. I really do. I think he needed time. I think he needs to understand how defenses shift, and it's fast. And you have to be able to think like this and be on time and be aware of where you're supposed to be. And from my reports, that's the only thing that's kind of holding Tommy Eichenberg back, is that he has to get signal recognition, and when they make changes, what are they changing to? He has to be able to do all that in 3 to 4 seconds, because you don't have time. Quarterback's counting down, getting ready to snap the ball. They give you a signal. You got to know what's coming next and where you're supposed to be in that signal's defensive adjustment. I hear he's having trouble with that. Nathaniel Frank, what's up? Welcome to the show. Oscar De Leon, how are you doing, man? Welcome to the show. I hear rumors about AOC being traded. This true, Bear? I hope not. He a good quarterback. Troy Gill, but he's also an asset. And even though I have said over and over again that AOC is going to be a winner, I absolutely could understand why a new regime that's coming in here on lightning fast, let's get this truck a-rolling. See, Pete Carroll's not coming in to, get nostalgic with players and keep guys because of how the fans will feel and stuff like that. It ain't going down like that. Now, the energy at the stadium is better than it's been in a long, long time. I mean, you're hearing Raiders staff commenting about the refreshing atmosphere, how everything's more positive with everybody, top to bottom. And Pete Carroll being hired by Mark and by Tom, I think that they're selling that to try to emulate that Golden State Warriors feeling of, and I know you're not all familiar with the Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, but there's just a thing that's known about them, and it's that they treat everyone with respect. Everyone. It doesn't matter what the situation is, whether they're going to pay you more or trade you or release you. They don't hold you in the dark. They don't play games. They do all these family outings. They pay for everything for the players. The Golden State Warriors players, every time one of their teammates makes a basket, they're the ones that started the whole thing with like everybody on the bench jumping up and down and celebrating, even if it's just, basic baskets. A lot of love. Create an atmosphere of camaraderie. And you're seeing that already. You know what I mean? And it's just a matter of time before it's all over the team and we're rolling. I truly believe that. I think Pete Carroll may even stay a little bit longer if this goes the way I think it will. David Pell-Cliver says they kept Kuntz for Max. I believe that, but I don't think Kuntz is good enough. I just feel like we should have got better than Kuntz. Quarterbacks used to ride the bench for 2 to 3 years before playing. Now the high picks are expected to play right away. Yeah, they want to find out if they can play right away and then cycle through them if they can't. Prediction on our team, MVPs on our defense, offense. Mine is Geno Smith and Malcolm Kuntz. Wow. Okay, I can kind of agree with you with Geno Smith because it's a quarterback. But if you think Malcolm would win on the defense, he'd have to have a hell of a year. The thing that concerns me with Will Johnson is he had turf toe and then a hamstring issue. Well, you're seeing guys now, honestly, Tana, come out of college football with multiple surgeries. You know what I mean? And they show up and they play fine. You have guys that get torn Achilles and they get the surgery and they still go in the second or third round. You know what I mean? It happens. The generation where those kind of injuries ended your career is almost over because science and the techniques that go into the surgeries that can bring you back from these injuries have gotten incredibly more scientific, incredibly more effective, where they would have success rates in the past in the 30%. Now they're in the 70s, you know, and that's with like older people. If you're younger, it's even higher that you'll have a success rate with surgeries like that. Armando Medrano, I think Sanders will go to New York too because his dad and his attitude suit the stage. Whether that's going to help the Giants win or not, I don't know. What late round prospects do you like at running back, wide receiver, linebacker? Tommy freaking Eichenberg, Amari the Ferrari Gainer. Okay, yes on freaking Eichenberg and absolutely on the Ferrari Amari Gainer. Now, okay, there's a guy. I hate saying their names wrong, and so I'm going to try and say this right. Let me pull up I had his name right here. Hold on, 10 seconds. Maybe less than 10 seconds. Okay, maybe more than 10 seconds. Okay, definitely more than 10 seconds. Okay, hold on, wait a minute. I know I have this here. Hold on. Okay, let's go back. Go like this. Go like this. That's that stuff. Okay. Okay, sorry. No, I want to answer this effectively. Let me go over here. Okay, so in the later rounds, some people thinking quarterback, for example. If in the later rounds you're thinking quarterback, let me pull up my list here. In the late rounds, if you're thinking quarterback, I still like the attitude of Tyler Shue, the quarterback with the Cardinals. And also Riley Leonard, the quarterback with Notre Dame. I could see them being a fifth, sixth round pick. One of those guys might still be languishing around. You know what I mean? If so, I would make that move, or at least I think that would be smart. Let me go forward. There was one other guy that was further down the list. Yeah, at number 20, Will Rogers, the quarterback out of Washington. Interesting, 6'2", 4'9", 40, which isn't great, but actually not bad for a quarterback. Okay, and then later round picks, I'm hoping offensive line. Pull up my card here. Stop arguing with me. Oh, okay, no, that's not the right one. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then as far as late rounds with offensive linemen, let me go there. Okay, I was looking at Jackson Slater, and forgive me that I can't remember all these. I just can't remember all these. But Jackson Slater, 316 pounds, 6'4". The tape doesn't lie. Slater has the NFL starter written all over him, particularly in a zone-based system. Who's that sound like? Where his athleticism and spatial awareness can thrive. So Jackson Slater kind of fits what we do. He's big, but at 6'4". He's 316 pounds, but at 6'4", that's a little bit of a thinner, more fit guy. That's why Colton Miller works so well, because even though he's a huge guy, he's really tall, so he kind of wears that right, or wears it well and handles it well. Bear, would you rather trade AOC, Tyree Wilson, or Michael Mayer? Is a third rounder worth each one of them? Okay. AOC, we should get a third round pick. Tyree Wilson, we should get a second round pick. Again, maybe a third, but you can't go below 3, because even though other people may not see him as a first round pick, we picked him as a first round pick. So he has to be, negotiated as a first-round pick. So to me, you got to get more than, not a 1, because Tyree Wilson hasn't proven to be a 1 at this point in his career, but a 2 definitely. And then as far as Michael Mayer, I would take a 3 for Michael Mayer for sure. Again, I think he's better than a 4. But if they offered me, say, a 4 and a 7, I'd take that, for Michael Mayer. Because obviously the guy's going to be good. I mean, the guy's going to be good. I don't understand what was holding him back up here. But I can't find out what it was. I've tried, guys. But something happened between the franchise and Michael Mayer that caused a division. Remember when we found out there was a division between Al Davis and John Gruden, and everyone heard there was a shouting fest and all that other stuff? It wasn't until years and years and years later that we found out that John Gruden was in effect defending his dad because Al Davis had used the F word with him. And so that's how the explosion happened, and then Al Davis sent, John Gruden on, but not necessarily like he was firing him. I think John Gruden was saying, I'm never going to coach for you again. So you better make a deal for me while you can. And then that's what he did. So I think something similar has happened off the field between Mayer and the Raiders. And whatever it was, the Raiders didn't like it or don't respect it enough to say, hey, we're going to keep you on the roster and work through that with you. No, it's goodbye. It was adios almost immediately. I mean, because that's really fast with a guy that shows that much potential. And you could have that duo at tight end, and you immediately are like, anyone interested in this guy? There's something wrong. And you guys that watch my show, I reported that Michael Mayer was number 1 in college football his last season in combat catches, which are the hardest catches to make. He was number 1 in the NCAAs at interrupted catches by defensive players and still snatching the ball out of the air and making the catch. We have that guy. And now we've got him in our driveway as a garage sale. Putting foots in whoever made that decision. Putting foots in him. What's up, Bear? Is there any update from the AOC trade? I haven't heard any updates, but I gotta believe it's gonna happen pretty quick. They may be looking for more draft picks just to have more leverage in this draft. Maybe amassing picks to make a move. And remember, I said maybe. I have nothing to back that up. I'm just simply saying that's one of the things that they could potentially do by stockpiling picks by making this trade. Because I think you could at least get a 3 for him or a 4 and a 6, something like that. And then if you get that, that would be crispy, because you can find stars at 4 and 6. Don't make me remind you about what the Niners did at 7. Steven Shaw! Let's see. What's up, Uriel Solis? What's up, Carnal? God bless you all and Raider Bear Familia. Sorry, bro, man. I've been trying to get your show, but I always try to share it when I can. I moved back to Fresno with my daughter, but let's go Raiders for life, no matter what. What's up, brother? Welcome to the show. And glad to hear you're living with your daughter and happy. Isaac Tesla, wide receiver. Brady Cook. Okay, Brady Cook at quarterback. Damian Martinez at running back. Chris Paul Jr. at linebacker in later rounds. Arnie Garza, I'm curious about Chris Paul's son. I'm curious about that. I want to see how that goes. So I wouldn't mind that coming to the NFL. I don't think that kids of famous players pan out that often, but at the same time, they have that same lightning in their bloodstream because their dad had it. So usually the sons or daughters, they're going to get that kick, and they can run fast or are particularly strong if they try to be, that kind of thing. What's up, Shane? I just saw you there. Welcome to the show. Vince Picks, breakthrough season for Tyree Wilson, yay or nay? Vince Picks, welcome to the show. I'm saying nay. I've always said nay. When we picked him, I scouted him. Okay, I watched his games. I watched his highlights. And the first thing you notice is that every play is just grab man, throw man, Hulk smash. That's his football. That's it. And you can't go into a sport of all the strongest offensive linemen in the last decade and think you're going to throw these guys. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, you could do that in college. At the college level, he could do that. And, by the way, he has no bend. And I mean zero bend. And if you know what I mean by bend, you know what I mean. At defensive end, you got to be able to turn that corner, bend that body, run by or under that offensive lineman, and then come up under him and wham, get a quarterback. He doesn't have that. And when I say doesn't have it, I mean literally, he cannot bend. He's that stiff of a player. It's just don. People, please stop asking about Tyree Wilson, please. I just can't. It's hard for me to hold back. I mean, that might be one of the worst picks we've made in a long time. He's so overrated. I mean, don't get me wrong. He did what he did in college, but he's not built for the NFL because his whole style is I'm stronger than you. Well, no, you're not. There's a whole lot of offensive linemen that'll go, come here. And we'll treat him like they're his mama or his daddy or both. I think they should keep AOC. He'd make a very competent backup, and he's still growing and learning. Tim, the problem with that is you'd be in the third year of his contract, of his rookie signing, where you're getting him for peanuts and you have him doing nothing. It would make more sense to just go ahead and package him now in some sort of deal, get a couple picks from someone for him, and move on and let the kid have a chance somewhere to be a starter, because he's a starter. AOC is a starter and a winner. I'm telling you, I don't back off of things. Just like I'm not really backing off of Ashton Ginty. I can see why Will Johnson could be the pick, but I'm saying no way. Just no way. I just don't think I just don't think you pick a DB at that position unless you really feel like he's the next Charlie Woodson. And if he isn't that, forget it. If you want to go corner so bad, move up for Travis Hunter. Otherwise, kind of like, this is weird. Oh, okay, Tana. I'm sorry. I understand what you meant now. Farrell and Leatherwood were worse picks than Wilson. Okay, Farrell, I felt like would get better and didn't, so I was just wrong there. Alex Leatherwood never looked comfortable. He never looked comfortable. And what's worse is every once in a while you get one of those guys in the NFL who really is affected by the fact that they're a number one pick. They think it's exciting, they're going to get all that money, but then they don't understand when suddenly they have press around them all the time like that, and they're questioning who their friends are and their girlfriends and taking pictures, and now their girlfriends are like going, geez, man, what's all this? I don't want to be all over, America's internet, and then he's going through a lot of stress because everyone's saying, should he have been picked that high? Which we all know now he shouldn't have been. So that put a lot of pressure on him. So Alex Leatherwood didn't get a fair shake. And as far as Wilson, I don't know if I could say that. I don't know if I could say they're worse picks. I thought Farrell did some good things for us. I just don't. I think he had bend, he had strength, I think he would have still worked out better for us than Tyree Wilson's going to. I have to disagree with you on that one, Tana. I've heard reports that Derek Carr is injured and may not play for the Saints all year. He might be done. If so, the Saints got to go with Rattler, or they may be looking for a quarterback in the draft. Jim, welcome to the show again. And yes, I got to tell you, man, the Derek Carr thing, to me, I don't think he's done. Because if you really think about it, he may be done for this upcoming season, but the moment he's healthy, he's a healthy quarterback that has a cannon for an arm and was questionably, a starter for the Raiders for 9 years. Now he had a real bad, landing spot with the Saints. It just didn't work out at all, and they said it was him. Putting foots in him. I don't care. Okay, he's not on our roster anymore. Don't ask me to, oh, no, it's Derek Carr. I don't care. Once a Raider, always a Raider. I don't care about that either, okay? I'm just kidding. Especially when you consider, too, Derek Carr was Well, not was. I'm talking like he's dead. Derek Carr was a very good citizen for the Raiders. He put a very professional look on our squad. He really did. And the way he carried himself and the way he behaved, always taking blame when it was there, and he did. So I have respect for Derek Carr. He did not pan out for us, but God bless you, brother, and hope things work out. But I don't think he's going to retire. I don't think there's any way. There's just too much of a payday still there. You know what I mean? Whatever this is, he'll recover from it, and he'll go out there and he'll do an Aaron Rodgers. He's going to get a retirement check. Wouldn't you? Tell one team, oh, I've still got it. I can go out there. I've still got it. I can still sling it. And you just say that over and over again, and then you'll get the job. And then if you suck, it doesn't matter. You're still going to get a guaranteed X amount of millions. You know what I mean? So he'll go for one more retirement check, and then he'll be done. Steven! Appreciate the love, brother. Always there supporting Raider Bear family page. Maybe they call us to trade up for Shador. If available, Ginty may still be there. Plus, we get more picks. I don't think Ginty will be there, but I don't mind if he's not, because I like Ginty, but I don't feel like he's the second coming to Walter Payton. So he ain't Marcus Allen. He's a good running back with potential to be a great one. If he lands with an offensive line, I think he could be good. But it's like my other viewer said. I mean, there's a plethora, using the big words on the Bear. But there's a plethora of running backs in this draft. You could pick any one of the top 6 guys, and you have a shot at him being a very competent, at least 1,000-yard running back, which is all you need. You don't have to have the best running back in football or anything like that. You just need good. Farrell is still playing in the league. I doubt Leatherwood is, though. Yeah, Leatherwood I heard washed out. Farrell is still bouncing around somewhere. Hey, Bear, word on the street is that New Orleans is desperate for a solid quarterback and may be willing to sacrifice a draft capital to get one in the draft. Do you think the Raiders will bite for more picks? Yes, Elon Bush. I do think they will. I think that a trade from AOC to the Saints makes a lot of sense. You give him some weapons, but the team's still in transition, and they can do it around him, find out if he's a guy that they want to keep as a part of this transition, or he's just a borrow, and then they'll find out next season and the season after that, is AOC capable of running the Saints? And he will, and he'll win. Mark my words. If AOC goes to a good team, it's on. He's not leaving us because he sucks. You guys can think he sucks. It's not because he sucks. He doesn't. I like the kid. A lot. He got major league starter potential. All right, that's my show. Much love. Shout out to our armed forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, National Guard, Space Force, for all you do. The energy and love of this show is dedicated to your sacrifice. Active and veteran, much love. Put butts in them. Sorry. I had to have one more. I don't want to hear any more about... Look. I don't want to hear any more about it. Draft, schmaft. It's just 10 more days. Tighten up your belt strap. We're almost there. All right, I'll mock a little bit later. I hate doing mocks. And every year my audience asks me to do mocks, and then I usually just go ahead and do it. Because everyone keeps saying, go on, Bear, do it. All right, that's my show. Much love. I'll see you tomorrow. Raider Bear family page. To all of you that tuned in and subscribe, I appreciate you. For those of you who don't, please consider a subscription to Raider Bear family page. It helps the show, and we do great things with it all over the world. Much love and peace and chicken grease to the world.